Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, where I'm always breaking down the hot sports topics of the day. My name is Mike. Now, Mike Rice and the Rutgers basketball program, as well as the university as a whole, has been in the news a lot lately over the past 24 to 48 hours. And obviously leading to today when Mike Rice was fired. If you're just getting an update on that, Mike Rice has been fired, which was pretty predictable after you saw the level of those videos as far as how he was verbally and physically abusive to players during practices over a stretch from 2010 to 2012, which is what those tapes covered. And after this gained so much attention and sort of went viral, if you will, you knew it was just a matter of time before the pressure on Tim Pernetti and the university president would have been too much, and they would have to fire Mike Rice, which they did today. Pernetti coming out with a predictable apology to the Rutgers community, saying he made a mistake in not firing Rice back in December. He obviously doesn't think that, otherwise he would have fired Mike Rice back in December, but I'll get to that in a second. And Mike Rice obviously coming out with a deep apology. Look, if the guy ever wants to work again as a coach, he has to come out with an apology. And again, predictable in the apology department. Did Mike Rice deserve to lose his job? Based on what I saw in those tapes, I've personally, played sports in my life, although it may not look like it now. Put on a few pounds, but I played sports in my life. The language he was using, have I heard harsh language used at players? Yes, I certainly have. Did I hear it with the sort of vitriol that he had toward his players? I don't think so. I think there's a difference between being intense, maybe using some bad language here and there, and using that language constantly to demean players. It also came out that he was a player on his team from the country of Guinea, and how he was made fun of his accent constantly, and the fact that he couldn't speak English right. Stuff like that, the being verbally abusive and physically abusive to players. You just can't do that. It's really a human decency thing. And after seeing those tapes, although I very rarely will advocate someone being fired, I think Tim Pernetti made the right decision this time, at least, in firing Mike Rice. Mike Rice will now move on and have to work his way back up the coaching ladder. It'll probably be a long road for him. But I agree with the decision to relieve him of his duties. I think a bigger problem, though, what were the actions of the athletic director and the president back in late November, December, when this all went down, when the tapes were brought to light. Eric Murdoch, an assistant coach on the team, the director of basketball development there for Rutgers, brings these tapes to Tim Pernetti. Tim Pernetti then looks at the tapes, evaluates, does an investigation, and determines that the best course of action is a 3-game suspension, a fine, and rehabilitation, as he put it, for Mike Rice. And, at the time when Pernetti was doing this, you have to remember his viewpoint probably was Mike Rice was my first hire when I became the new AD here at Rutgers. If I fire this guy late November, early December, which is essentially when the college basketball season has just started and we're sort of ramping up in the non-conference schedule, if I fire this guy, what is it going to look like? It's going to make me look bad. So let's punish him. Let's not really give any explicit details as to why we're punishing him, and hope that those tapes don't get released. That's essentially the decision that Pernetti made when you really boil it down. I don't really believe that the university president did not know anything about this like he's claimed. I don't believe that he didn't see the tapes. If I'm looking at what Tim Pernetti was looking at there, and I suspend the coach, if your coach is suspended for 3 games, fined money, as a university president, I don't think you can expect us to believe that you didn't see the tapes at some point. Okay? And, whether we get the true story as far as what happened with that, I doubt. As far as did the president see the tapes? Did Pernetti hide the tapes from him because he knew what was on them? The president would maybe call for Rice's firing. We'll never know that answer. But I think the ball was dropped certainly by the AD first. And then I think the president and the AD only reacted to the situation once the media got involved. Let's face it, if those tapes didn't get released, Mike Rice would still be the head coach of Rutgers University basketball today. I think that's a pretty obvious statement. And, the firing of him was a reaction to the media attention, reaction to the public's attention. You even heard Chris Christie react to it as well, the governor of New Jersey. And just from all levels, from Mike Rice on up, Obviously, a lot of this falls, the bulk of this falls at Mike Rice's feet, because if his actions weren't as such, then it wouldn't have led to all these other people even having to make these decisions. But some of this falls on Pernetti, a lot of it falls on Rice, and I think a lot of it falls on the university president as well. So we'll see how this all shakes out. But for right now, Mike Rice has lost his job. We'll see what the fate holds for the athletic director first, Tim Pernetti, and kind of go from there. But definitely not a good day or a good 48 hours for Rutgers athletics as a whole. We'll see where they go from here, where they go with their hire. I'll have another video on here very soon as far as who I think the next coach of Rutgers maybe should be. So let me know what you guys think of this whole Mike Rice situation. Again, definitely thought he should have been let go. And I'm interested to see what happens to Pernetti and the school president now after this all shakes out. But let me know what you think. Hit me up in the YouTube comments. Hit me up on Twitter at SNewsAnalysis. Guys, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I upload 5-10 sports talk videos a day about the NFL, college athletics, and Major League Baseball. Thanks again for listening, and have a great night.